Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be painting a Crypt horror from the Flesh Eater Court's Age of Sigmar range. So the first step is to prime the model, and for this I've chosen to use Vampire Violet. Once that's dried, we're going to move on to the first colour, which is Rakarth Flesh. We're going to grab that colour and we're going to use the dry brush technique here. Now at this point in time you don't really have to be careful, you just need to get the good coverage and get the paint all over the miniature. Once you're finished, it should look a little something like this. So the next step is to apply a wash of Druchii Violet. I think I'm saying that right. You need to just apply this wash over the entire miniature, just be careful not to let it pool. Once the wash is dried, we're going to grab our dry brush again and we're going to literally repeat the same step that we did at the beginning, and we're just going to go with Rakarth Flesh. At this stage, again, we don't need to be clean, we don't need to be precise, just get the Rakarth Flesh all over the miniature. Still working on the skin of the model, we're going to then grab a lighter colour, and that colour is going to be Flayed 1 Flesh. We're going to again use the dry brush technique, we're going to apply it all over the model. Again, don't have to be precise, just get it on the miniature. The one thing I would say is you do sort of give it a bit of a lighter dry brush, not as heavy as the Rakarth, because we don't want this model plastered in Flayed 1 Flesh. This is a highlight colour. As you can see, the model looks a lot brighter already. So what we're going to do now is grab a Carroburg Crimson wash. Again, this is the last wash we're going to use for the flesh, and we're going to just apply it all over the miniature. Once the wash is completely dried, we're going to do the final step of the skin, and that's to grab Flayed 1 Flesh and do a light dry brush over the entire miniature. So with the skin now done, we're going to start moving on to the bones. Now I'm going to pick Xandri Dust as a base colour, and I'm not going to apply this to all the bone parts, just a few of them, because I want some variety in the bones on the model. As you can see, I chose to do the bones in his arms, and then I chose to do the backbone spine type business going on there. Right, next we're going to move on to the Agrax Earthshade wash. Now we're going to just put this only on the bones that we just painted. Once the wash is dried, we're going to do more dry brushing, and we're going to go and dry brush the bones with Ushabti bone, and then after that we're going to go on to Screaming Skull, and that'll give our bones a nice mid and high colour. Now this is where we get to add a real bit of colour to the miniature. So we're going to grab Blood for the Blood God, which is a fantastic paint from GW that looks a lot like, well, blood. We're going to apply that to the exposed areas that I think should be, well, covered in gore really. When applying this paint we need to be a little bit more careful now. We need to make sure we don't splash this all over the miniature, otherwise it'll ruin the effect. So in addition to putting Blood for the Blood God on the exposed back, I'm also going to put it on little bits on the areas which have bones sticking through them, as if it's been pushed through the skin and there's blood around that sort of slightly open wound. So earlier I said we were only doing parts of the bone in Xandri Dust. Now we're going to do the rest of the bone, nails, claws, that sort of thing. And for this we're going to give them the base of a Rhinox hide. And once we finish this process, it'll make them stand out and it'll be a little bit different to the previously painted bone. Onto Xandri Dust, we're going to grab that colour and dry brush just the giant bone club thing that the horror is holding. So this bit gets a little bit more tricky and in my mind adds a little bit of flair to the model. So I'm going to use Xandri Dust and I'm going to use a crappy brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and feather the colours between Rhinox Hide and Xandri Dust, and what that'll do is sort of, in my mind, create the illusion of growing bone, talon, nail, etc. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the entire process that we just did for Xandri Dust, which was using it on the bone and then using it on the claws, and we're going to do exactly the same, only now we're going to just use a different colour and we're going to use Ushabti bone. We're going to repeat the step one more time for the final highlight, and that is using Screaming Skull. At this point you probably have some harsh transitions on the nails and the claws between the three colours, which are Xandri Dust, Ushabti and Screaming Skull. So what we're going to do is quickly grab some Agrax Earthshade and we're going to just put that over the top of those areas. That'll help smooth out the transition. At this point we're getting to the end of the miniature, there's only the final sort of details to go. So going on to the eyes, we're going to use a white as a base. Now I use Vallejo white, specifically an airbrush paint, because it's so thin that it just pulls on the eye sockets and it allows me to do a glow later on, which I'm quite happy with. Once the white is dried, we're going to just finish off the eyes with Iron Jaws Yellow and Caribou Crimson. So first you want to put Iron Jaws Yellow on the eye, and then grab a quick bit of Caribou Crimson and just put it around the edges of the eye so it blends in, so you haven't got this stark yellow colour. Final few details. There's a bit of fur or hair just on the backs of the legs and around the crotch area. We're just going to base coat that with Vallejo black. Last step of the model, we're going to grab a quick bit of Celestra, I'm going to go with Celestra Grey, and then we're going to grab a dry brush and just put it on those parts that we just painted black. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.